and welcome to episode 3 of On the Line with Tim and Tony. We're going to discuss the 2025 KKA season, a little unveil of the lakes, see what's going on, talking with the tournament director, Todd Segraves, and Austin Applegate. You want to go ahead and get into it, Tony?
Yeah, so first I want to talk about some of the local happenings. If anyone is interested in winter fishing, check out the Kayak Bass League on Facebook. They're doing a tournament at Lake Shawnee next weekend. And also, if you're close to Missouri, I know Moyak does some winter tournaments as well. So the first thing we want to do is we want to give a shout out and a thank you to all the sponsors for the 2024 Kansas Kayak Anglers. Todd, you want to mention those?
Sure. Yeah, we had a few organizations that sponsored the club and our tournaments this year. Number one, Shields. Shields has sponsored us the last couple of years. They always hook us up with several gift cards to give out. So those were kind of given out throughout the year as raffle prizes at the end of tournaments. Also, Sail and Kayak Shop. They've been a long-time supporter of the club. A lot of the Hobie accessories and Hobie swag you see at the tournaments, that comes from them. Biz Baits, they've been a long-time supporter of both KKA as well as just kayak angling in Kansas. They continue to always give us product, which you'll always see at the end of every tournament for giveaways. So big shout out to them. And then Catch as well. So Catch provided us a discount on purchases through their website this year, and we're looking forward to continuing with working with them next year. So if you do need a measuring board or accessories for your measuring board, make sure and use our discount code and you can order those directly through Catch, and that just shows them that we're supporting them. And then one of our new sponsors for this year was Golden Belt Customs, which makes custom swim baits right here in Kansas. They sponsored our Big Bass Bonanza for the year, and they actually gave out 4 homemade custom swim baits to the top 4 finishers in the Big Bass Bonanza. So huge shout out to them. Those, they're amazing baits. So if you're interested in chucking some big swim baits around, definitely check them out. And then we're working on our sponsors for 2025. So reaching out to our existing sponsors, reaching out to new sponsors. If you do know any, local businesses that are interested in sponsoring the club, any, local, whether it's a tackle shop, a marina, city of commerce in a town close to where we hold tournaments, if you have contacts there, definitely reach out. We appreciate the help from the bigger companies, but we definitely want to, work with our smaller, more local businesses as well.
Very nice.
Anything you want to add for that, Austin?
No, I'm just thankful for the sponsors that we had, and I know for Catch, like I used that several times last year alone. So that code is up on our website. If people don't know, we have a website. You just go there, and there's I think it's just the discount section that has our codes up there for the season. So you can always check that out. And as Todd mentioned, we're still working on sponsors for 2025. So even small mom and pop shops or restaurants, whatever, if there's a discount that you would give us or anything like that is definitely appreciated. So
absolutely.
Yeah, and I will say we I won't say any details yet because still haven't got everything finalized, but we will have a battery sponsor for next year. So we'll have a discount code to get some lithium batteries as well. So if you're in the market for some new lithium batteries, you might hold out just a little bit longer, and should be able to save some money.
Awesome. Yeah, we're trying to work on some sponsors to help sponsor, like instead of getting a shelter house, things like that, the businesses that we can, set up at kind of like we did at Wilson Lake last year with the tackle shop and things like that. So if you know anybody that we can set up shop and do kind of the awards at as well, that's local that want to support us, that would be great as well. So
I will say that we do kind of have a formal email that we'll send out to you, kind of explaining what we would do for your company, how we would promote your company and all that. We have a big check that we have a banner, things like that we can promote your company, and then also through our Facebook page and other social media platforms. So
Very nice.
So we won.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
membership.
Jim.
You want to do the membership questions, or
No, go ahead.
basically, one of the first questions is how much will it cost to be a KK member and a membership, and what does that entail? And how much is it a person, kind of thing?
Sure. So membership is going to carry over the same as from last year. So it's going to be $50 for the year, for the season. You can fish one tournament without being a member. But if you want to fish multiple, which we always recommend, or you want to be, considered for Angler of the Year, you'll need to be a member. And just a caveat, if you do fish that one tournament without being a member and you happen to do really good, and then you say, I want to go after Angler of the Year, that tournament will not count. So it's always better to err on the side of just paying the $50 and becoming a member. That $50 helps us cover a lot of the costs of the club. So we will also have, and we'll get into this more a little bit later, but we'll have the monthly tournaments again, as well as the Big Bass Bonanza. And the monthly tournaments, I'll have to look at my notes. The monthly tournaments, you do not need to be a member. I'll have to double check on the Big Bass Bonanza.
Yeah, that's correct about the monthly. I'm not sure about the Big Bass Bonanza. I'm not sure if we decided that or not, but yeah. And if anybody is wondering, what the membership fees do cover, we try to put that all on the website as well. There is a documented list of how the fees are covered. It's not we're all volunteers. We're not taking in any of the money or anything like that. So it all gets paid out or used for the club. So.
Yeah, and just to kind of, briefly, it covers the trophies or plaques. It covers shelter reservations. It covers the permits for the lakes, stuff like that. So
AOI payout, Big Bass payout if we do that, raffle prizes if we purchase any, and then there's obviously other things that we would like to do as well, but we didn't have quite enough money for, like the hourly Big Bass for the championship. Rookie of the year. There's a number of things. So definitely appreciate any sort of support we can get through the membership.
And one thing I'd like to add is I'd like to thank everybody that donated to the 4 children we adopted. I thought that was pretty neat. Everybody stepped up and helped out, and that
very happy with that. I love it.
Christmas.
Yep, I was gonna say using this platform, the Kansas Kayak Anglers to help others is awesome. I really love that. Yeah. Even more than tournament fishing, I think. So it makes me feel pretty good about that.
Yep, I just got the delivery bags in the mail from KVC today, waiting on, I believe, one more gift. And once that comes in, I will bag all those up and deliver them to KVC, and they'll wrap them and everything, and
that's awesome.
Get those handed out to the kids right around Christmas.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get any photos or anything like that, and or kind of a wrap of everything that we received, just to show you guys everything. We had several cash donations too, if I remember correctly. So that was definitely appreciated, and that's going to go to the gift cards to the kids and everything. So
very nice. That's awesome. Makes you feel warm inside a little bit, Yeah. Well, let's get to the next question. When will the KKA open the membership to purchase it?
Yep. So we're going to kind of officially kick it off February 1st. If you're just really dying to get it paid, you can send it in whenever. But February 1st is kind of when we're looking to start it. We're going to do a little membership drive the first 2 weeks of February, where if you sign up from the 1st through the 14th, you get entered into a raffle. We're going to have some different prize package giveaways. So it's just kind of a chance to get signed up early, which kind of helps us. The more memberships we get early, that's more money we have to operate with for like getting the trophies and, starting to work on those permits. And it prevents us from having to, pay out of pocket and wait for money to come in to get, reimbursed. So it's just a chance to get signed up early, potentially win some prizes, and, get the kind of get the season started on the right foot.
From what I hear, those prize packs, I mean, I could pay for the membership, just one prize pack. So, you know.
Yep.
There's I think there's going to be at least like 6 prize packages, or maybe
as of now.
extra. So
yeah, very nice.
Little donations to various people.
Very nice. So, Todd, who do we send that money to when we go ahead and make that purchase for the membership?
You'll send that to me, to my PayPal, and there's a link directly on the website. So you can just go to KansasKayakAnglers.com, and there's literally a PayPal button, and click it and just send it right to me.
I actually removed that until we knew for sure what we were going to do. So I'll add that back in there.
Okay.
And then I will say, if you are sending money to Todd, try to make sure you send it as friends and family, just so that he gets the full $50, and it's not, used as a product purchasing or whatever, so that we get deducted on it.
Yeah, that was something that happened a handful of times last year. Was both. I don't remember if it was for tournaments or just memberships, but I did have a few where it came, friends did not come friends and family, and so that kind of reduces, how much we're actually getting. Yeah.
If you have any questions, everybody's always been helpful to answer those questions. If you're not sure when you get on PayPal, it's your first time using it, just ask one of us. Any of us in the group would be glad to help. Just make sure you check that, because it's not very intuitive when you go in there. So if you haven't done it before. So
Tony, you want to take over?
Yeah. So as we're always trying to get new members to sign up, do either of you two have any suggestions for new members that have yet to take the plunge and join?
I was going to say, I think one of I kind of tried to talk to, I believe it was your buddy John, right? We talked to him at Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah.
And I was kind of trying to get some insight on, somebody who's kind of new to the scene. I mean, I've only been doing it 3 or 4 years myself. So, but just trying to understand how somebody who's new to the scene, what their questions are, their hesitations or whatever, in terms of joining, tournaments. And, one of them was he just didn't know too much about us. But I also think there's just kind of an intimidation factor that some of the people see, people are doing really well or whatever. But I can tell you, and I'm sure Tony and Tim and Todd can all speak to it. I don't think any of us have really been fishing that long compared to, I'll say Clayton Westgate, obviously, right? Clayton's been tournament fishing since he was 16, I believe is what he said.
Yep.
And so Tony's been tournament fishing for 2 years, Tim's a couple years, Todd's a couple, so I mean, and we've all placed and we've all won money and done stuff. So if you think that's something you can't get into, or that you'll never be able to compete with somebody who's been doing it most of their life, that's just not the case. I mean, the reality is you just have to really get out there and kind of dedicate yourself a bit and fish on the days that we don't have tournaments, and practice those lakes and stuff like that. I think Derek, he told me he practiced Melbourne a lot for a championship ride, and it paid off for him. He did really well for that. So
I tell you what, that guy's really come around the last year. He's a force to be reckoned with.
it just shows, and I think one of the best ways to get good at fishing in general overall is actually tournament fishing. I think showing up to our tournaments and seeing what other people are doing. And the other thing is, there's a lot of people who still don't kind of come to our post-tournament discussion or, the awards ceremony and stuff because they're tired or whatever. But that's actually where you kind of learn stuff, talking to other people and what were you doing? Why were you doing that? You hear these other, decision-making that people went through, and you understand, more after that. And so the best way, the only thing I can say is people who are intimidated or concerned that they won't do well, your first year, you might show up and you maybe won't do super well, but you are going to learn a lot about fishing, and you will be drastically better by attending and doing these tournaments with us. And the other thing I'll say is we're not a boat tournament either, where I know some people take the boat tournaments very seriously. Kayak fishing is, most of the people are all friends, and we all hang out and chat and, do stuff together. No one's super competitive, I feel like. That wouldn't share any information. You guys are always joking when they tell me one thing. I'm like, I don't know if I believe you or not, but it's all for fun. Nobody's too serious about it. So
It was one hole in his kayak one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Oh,
I
definitely
just want people to
second
be
that.
intimidated by us by being a tournament, club or organization or whatever. And that's kind of why we're also doing these other tournaments, right? The monthly stuff to try and be more accommodating of people who maybe don't have the free time or whatever to get out there as much. So,
I know for me, because it's only been beginning of 2023 is my first tournament at Big Hill. And I was so happy to catch one fish. That's all I caught the whole day, one fish. Second tournament, I think I caught one fish or two fish. And then the third tournament, I got skunked, Perry Lake. And
Hey, I
and then
tried.
somehow I ended up coming back, underdog story, and winning the championship in 2023. So
Yep.
I don't know how. I'm still perplexed by that, but it's just got to be in the right place at the right time sometimes too. And once you get that feeling of that big fish in a tournament or winning a tournament or even placing, it's like an amazing feeling. Yeah. So.
But I mean, that's a perfect example. You came into it, you were barely even catching a limit on most tournaments, and then you ended up winning the championship. So
I mean, I can testify. All he ever caught was bluegill. So,
yeah. So I mean, it's a perfect example of it. So I just don't want people to be intimidated by the tournament scene or anything like that. So, and like I said, we're all very happy to teach whatever we know, even though we don't feel like we know a lot. So.
Yeah,
I remember fishing behind Tony at Mound City. I was just following behind him, just catching fish after fish, and I'm like, "Why didn't you catch this?"
Come a long way.
It's not that monster you caught at Mound City.
Yeah, I was like 20 feet from him when he caught that, like 2 minutes into the tournament. Good place.
It'd be a carp if it was me, so I would have got a carp.
Anything else to add, Todd, for like new members that are coming in?
No, I would it's kind of like what Austin said. I mean, fishing tournaments is going to make you a better angler, and being around, the people that have been doing it and hearing, what they're doing, how they're fishing, kind of their, not just how they're like, oh, I was throwing a Ned rig or I was throwing this, but like kind of learning like what their game plan was, like what they were targeting based on the lake, based on the time of the year. That stuff's, you can go look it up on YouTube, but that's not going to give you as specific information as somebody fishing the same lake as you on the same day as you. And kind of just that kind of knowledge will help you build and kind of build a better understanding of what to look for at certain times of the year on certain lakes, and it pays off in the long run.
If you're a new guy and you show up to a awards banquet, we're going to come over and say, hey, how's it going? Because we haven't seen you before, and just get to know you a little bit better. So, yeah, if you're there at the awards banquet, we'll come up and talk to you, say hi. Don't feel embarrassed or ashamed. Just come up and talk to us. So, yeah. Go ahead, Tony, if you need to.
All right. So what everybody's been waiting for, I'm sure. At least 9 people, it looks like, are watching. So the kind of the 2025 tournament schedules and stuff like that. So first thing we want to talk on is you kind of mentioned monthly tournaments and how I know this next year, this year was the first year we're doing them. So kind of what's kind of the plan for 2025 and the monthly tournaments?
Yeah, so we're going to continue on the monthlies. We had a pretty good turnout when we started them. I think August was the first month. So it seemed like people liked them. We decided to just have it a low entry fee. Something that's you're not out a bunch of money to compete. Just more of a pushing people to get out and fish and have fun. So we're going to continue those, and we're actually going to run them most of the year. So we're going to start them in March, and they're going to run all the way through October each month. And so those you can fish any public body of water. So as long as it's a body of water that anybody can legally access and fish, that you can fish it. So whether that's a reservoir, a county lake, city lake, state fishing lake, walk-in fishing area, anything like that you can access and fish. And so those are going to be $25 a month to enter. And I believe, Austin, the payout structure is on the website, right?
I don't think we have.
Or is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can get that added or posted again on Facebook when we get closer to March, when we open up registration for the first one. But yeah, it's $25 to enter. It's, it's low cost, just to encourage people to get out and compete. You do not have to be a member to fish those. So anybody's welcome to get registered.
Yeah, I really like that it opens it up kind of across Kansas. So the tournament really isn't close to you that month. You can still get out and you can still compete a little bit. And I think the other thing too is if you haven't done a tournament before ever, the first time I did a tournament was I'm measuring this fish right. I didn't really practice a whole lot, so it gives you an opportunity to practice measuring your fish and taking photos and uploading them to TourneyX and things like that. So it's a great practice.
Yeah.
Get out and practice. So
yeah, and I will say that last year the kind of the nice thing was we actually had a lot of new members come in through fishing. They just fish those monthly tournaments, and that's okay. Some people don't have time on the weekends to go to our in-person tournaments or whatever. So, but yeah, you're 100% correct in terms of just practicing, and that was, I think, when Todd and I were judging those monthly tournaments. That was one thing. At least I left comments on people all the time. I try to be fairly lenient, especially a new person. But if I saw something, I'd be like, hey, this mouth opening was getting pretty close here, or whatever. Like, you need to keep that closed, or the fin's not completely flat. You need to keep that flat, or provide any guidance I can, so that way when they do go to the next stage of the bigger tournaments that cost a little more, or whatever, they feel confident, they know what they're doing right. So definitely a good way to get in there and start.
Yep. So when they flop the board.
Yeah, you'll lose fish, and you'll learn to put that net up there on the edge so that it doesn't fall out. And there's a lot to learn. It's completely different. So
my biggest one was actually with it was the Heartland. So I had a 20-inch smallmouth this year at Clinton Lake, and it was so fat it covered up the identifier, and I couldn't count it. And it would have put me at 100 inches for the month of June, and it didn't count. So lesson learned. So
write it up in the top right corner.
I do now. I do.
Yep.
I had to deduct Shannon's probably his largest bass of the year. I think it was on a monthly or something that I had to document him because it wasn't. And it's like, yep, I'm sorry, man.
And he's the nicest guy.
I know. I told him I didn't want to do it, but it's one of those things, right? Like if I get like, and there was two tournaments going on at once. I think it was the Big Bass, right? And so I could see the Big Bass tag that he had on there, but then he had his monthly tag, and I couldn't see the monthly tag. And so on the Big Bass tag, it's like I know he did everything correctly. I know he wasn't cheating or anything like that. But it's you can't, it's like you gotta stay strict on it because you don't want somebody to be like, oh, you're biased and giving somebody else a pass or whatever. It's like, I'm sorry, I can't give it to you. But
I was there that night. He caught that, and then he showed me the picture, and I said, "Hey, man, you're." And he goes, "Oh," because I had done it. I think it was like 2 weeks before that I had done it at Clinton Lake.
Yep.
He's like, "Oh no." He was pretty upset.
I think he got it for one of the tournaments. I think it was Big Bass or the monthly. One of the two he got it for, and the other one I was like, I can't give that to you.
Yeah. So. Speaking of Big Bass, that goes into our next one, which is the Big Bass Bonanza tournament for 2025. So, what's new for that one? I hear there's some new stuff coming up.
Yeah, we're gonna change up the format for it. We had a good number of people compete last year, and the way or this year I should say, and the way it worked this year, it was the single biggest bass caught all season was the winner, and we paid out I think 2 or 3 spots, 2 spots maybe, and
pretty good money too. Like
yeah, it was a good amount of money. And so, and just kind of when we were kind of looking at the results of what people posted for fish, the top probably 4 or 5 bass were all caught within about a few day span. And they were all caught in the spring. And so it kind of, we spent a lot of the year kind of just sitting there waiting, hoping, hey, is somebody going to step up and, break this, the current first place. And, it just kind of, I think there was kind of, for people that maybe weren't fishing it or, we're just kind of watching it from, watching the results. There was kind of a lack of interest because you just didn't see the leaderboard moving at all. So we're going to switch it up quite a bit this year. So what we're going to do is it's going to run from March 1st through the end of October, through October 31st. So that's 8 months. We're going to take your biggest fish each month for 6 of those 8 months. So it's going to be your top 6 fish from 6 different months to tally your total. So we're going to be looking at, if you potentially, like if you don't sign up by March, you can still sign up. I would recommend signing up earlier. But it's going to go off your top 6. So if you wait until May to sign up, you can still get your 6 fish in. But yeah, it's going to go your biggest fish caught each month. And those fish have to be submitted in Tourney X by the end of the month that you caught them in. So if you catch whichever ones you catch in March, you need to have your biggest one posted in Tourney X by March 31st.
Yep. And that's just to kind of prevent sandbagging and also to keep the leaderboards shuffling around a bit, right? So there's a little bit more action occurring, and people, their positions are hopefully changing up a bit.
So if you catch a 21-inch bass and someone else catches a 21-inch bass, do you want to make sure you put 2 bass in for that month, or like
nope.
your 2 biggest bass?
I mean, it's only going to take your biggest bass from that month. So. Okay. I mean, if you can upload more than one fish. You don't have to wait till March 31st and then go through your photos and figure out which one's the biggest. I mean, if you go out on March 1st and you catch an 18-inch, go ahead and upload it, and then, it'll be set up to auto cull throughout the month so that it has your biggest one. But yeah, it's just going to be your single biggest fish each month. So it's not, if you catch 3 21-inchers in March, you can't, have them all count and then, have them count for, August and September when you're not catching any big ones. So.
And did you decide on a price for that tournament? Like, is it a cost? Like, is it one cost for the whole year pretty much, or?
Yeah, it'll be one cost. I think we're going to do the same cost from last year.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think that was $60.
We'll have more info on. Yeah, and we'll when we get closer, we'll post like the payout structure and everything. But money wise, it'll be the same as last year.
Okay. The other thing I'd say is like, so I believe the score, what we decided for the scoring is we're just going to add up the length of all of 6 of your biggest fish, right? And then whoever has the largest length is the winner. If there's any tiebreakers in there, we'll kind of get that decided from there. But that's basically how it'll work. And so, you'll have to catch a big fish every single month, and it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. It should be fun. So, well, before we get into the main tournaments and I guess it would kind of be the main KK tournaments and locations. If you do have questions, I know you're watching this on YouTube.
Yeah.
Just drop them in the comment section, and we're going to answer questions here towards the end. So if you have questions that come up or the questions you have about anything, the directors, for Tim and I, just post them in the comments, and we'll get to them here. All right, so the main KKA tournaments. Todd, you want to give us some dates and locations? Oh, I also we will be posting that tomorrow on Facebook or later this evening after to relaunch this. So.
Yeah. Well, I guess I will. Before I talk about the dates and locations, I'll say a couple changes to the tournament schedule. So, number one, we are going to have one less tournament this year, and that kind of just comes from it's getting harder and harder to kind of fit them in with other series, whether that's, KBN, Kansas Bass Nation, or, Moyak, or, the national trails like Bassmaster Kayak Series. So, it's just hard to schedule 8 tournaments. And it also kind of gives, will hopefully bring up our numbers. We did have, 2 or 3 tournaments that had pretty low turnout. So hopefully by having a little less, that will kind of concentrate people to try to get to all of them or get to more of them. So we're hoping that will help with the numbers, but also, just scheduling wise, it makes it a little easier. The other thing is, starting in 2025, we are going to, so we've always withheld money for the PayPal fees and Tourney X fees. We are going to start withholding $5 from each entry, just to help with costs. We kind of decided that, just, with this year, we ended up spending some money out of pocket just to cover things like some of the shelter reservations. I know I spent a little bit of money out of pocket just to help cover the AOY payout. So, that $5 withholding will just help cover those costs and hopefully give us a little bit of money to carry over into the following year. So that way we have a little bit of money to work with earlier on in the season to help pay for, our plaques and everything and permits and stuff like that. And then I'll also say one of the big sponsorship things we're kind of working on this year is on lakes where we're fishing, where there's, a marina, a tackle shop, a small town nearby. We're really reaching out to companies that will sponsor us to either, let our awards be held at their location, and then also reaching out, if they want to sponsor us with cash. That's something that we've done in the past where, we've had a marina say, hey, we'll give you $200 to help increase payouts. So we're working on doing that for some of it won't necessarily work at every location, but so hopefully that will kind of offset that $5 we're going to withhold in a lot of the instances.
Very nice.
And with that being said, we can go ahead and get into the dates and locations. So
real quick,
actually, I'll say one more thing before we get into the dates and locations. So we'll probably talk about it, here in the next few weeks. But the Kansas Bass Nation Kayak or so, we'll talk more about the dates and locations of that, in the near future. But those will not be held in conjunction with KKA. So if you see a lake that's not on the KKA schedule, that we usually fish, it may end up on the KBN schedule. So we'll have more KBN stuff in the near future. But getting into the dates and locations, so we're going to pick up right where we left off, April 12th, 2025. We're going to start the season at Melbourne, right where we had the championship, just to give it a different time of year to fish it.
Very nice.
And then our second tournament is going to be a Roadrunner. That's going to be on May 3rd. And it's called the North 75 Shootout. So you're going to have 3 different lakes you can fish. That includes Lake Shawnee. That's Lake Shawnee in Topeka, Banner Creek, or Pony Creek. Our third tournament will be on June 7th. And that's going to be at Big Hill. And then our fourth tournament, when we get into kind of peak summer, is going to be another Roadrunner. And that's going to be in southeast Kansas. And you'll be able to fish Cedar Creek, Fort Scott, or Bone Creek.
The suspense is killing us.
And the next tournament will be August 9th. And that's going to be at Milford. I know. I'm making people breathe. The following tournament, September 6th, and that is going to be at Perry Lake. So you're either going to have a really good day or you're going to skunk. There's no in between.
And the finale, the Kansas River Championship today.
Right. Yep. And then our championship will be on October 4th and 5th, and that's going to be at Lake Wilson.
All right. I think that what you said gives us a lot of opportunities to catch smallmouth and largemouth. So it's good variety of fish and some spots in there too, spotted bass. But yeah. Derek, I'll sell you this one off my back for $100. Now, my wife got it for me for a birthday present, so somewhere in Topeka.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to work.
If you want a Kansas Kayak Angler shirt, not sure, but a hat. I do have 2 more hats that I need to sell off for the Kansas Kayak Anglers. We did a small order, the 4 of us. We got a couple hats made, and then we plan to have some more made if other people want them. So definitely let me know if you're interested in that. I will say for the lakes, we will post all this on Facebook soon as well. I think Tony has something made up already to kind of do that, and we'll get an update on the website. For the lakes, I will say we were kind of trying to change up the seasons that we're fishing them. Obviously, we don't have a whole bunch of new lakes being added to the state of Kansas every year, so just to mix things up. And the other thing that we were trying to keep in mind was just how far people had to travel for people who are usually consistently showing up to our tournaments. And then the other thing is just not trying to fish big reservoirs during the crazy boating season, when there's a bunch of wakeboarders or skiers or tubers out there racing around. So and then the other difficult part about our scheduling that I don't think Todd mentioned was just having to keep in track of all the holidays as well, and there and back to school and everything. So I mean, we have a list of all these things in our on the document of when we can even have a tournament. It's actually very limited, believe it or not, of kind of where we can place stuff. So hopefully the schedule, there's a few lakes in there that everybody's excited about, though. I mean, I definitely like all the road runners for sure. Those are
definitely variety. Yeah.
There's some lakes in there I definitely do not like. I'm sure people know, and there's some lakes in there I definitely love to fish.
Cool. Daniel was asking about the July dates again. If we could give him the July dates.
That's going to be July 12th. That's Cedar Creek, Fort Scott, and Bone Creek.
Down in his area. Yep.
I don't think we've ever fished Cedar Creek, correct?
Yep. I've fished it from the bank and caught a few, but I've never fished it out of my kayak.
I don't know if Kansas Kayak Anglers has ever fished Bone Creek either. I know KBN has.
No. Yeah.
So the other one, I think did Banner Creek once before for Flint Hills, right? But I don't think we've ever done Bone.
Yeah.
So that's a new one. And then obviously Lake Shawnee obviously is kind of a smaller lake that we don't usually do, but
yeah, Lake Shawnee, boy, that could be fire.
Yeah, it's hit or miss. I mean, a really good day there, right? You were saying,
yeah. So, his video.
Yeah, his video's up to watch that.
Yep, John, those will be on Saturdays, and then the championship will be Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. Yep, and then Wilson will be interesting, I think. October 4th and 5th. I don't think we've ever been there that late, so we're definitely shaking things up there on some of the lakes that we've fished before. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out.
Somebody will find them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Somebody always finds them. Yep. Somebody always finds them. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I look forward to it. Clayton says a very nice mix-up from last year. So, yep.
Yeah, we're doing everything we can to make sure Clayton doesn't win them all. That's for sure.
I don't know. He might go to Lake Shawnee after that video.
No, I was gonna say no. Clayton knows these lakes probably better than everybody. So, I love fishing against Clayton. So, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And like I said, we were also trying to keep in mind. We have other people. I know I fished Bassmaster last year, but I know you two are going to go fish it next year.
Yeah.
And that was something we try to keep in mind was, these people want to fish these other national tournaments, especially these big ones, because we actually pushed back our championship, right, for Bassmaster, because Bassmaster came out with their schedule that they're going to have a tournament down in Texas that same weekend that we had planned to do our championship. And I know there were several people that were wanting to go to that Texas tournament for next season. So we kind of pushed back a little bit for that. So,
and Bassmaster will be having a tournament in Oklahoma, I believe on June 1st. They haven't made any official announcements yet, but they did send some of the directors kind of the dates and states that where they're going to be. So if you want to get in on one of those national tournaments and not drive, crazy far, Oklahoma will be an option this coming year.
Yeah, I think they have Arizona, Oklahoma, and Texas are our closest, if I remember correct. The three. If you want to fish,
and Arizona is not close.
20-hour drive.
Yeah. Well, what's the next closest? I don't know.
Yeah. I seen. Yeah, it's gonna be probably pretty interesting.
If you guys got to make 3, you're gonna have to drive a ways for one of them. That was kind of the same for me this year. It was the Gunnersville.
I was hoping the Susquehanna would be on there, but they did not probably put that on there. So I don't know.
They will be having one. I'm guessing it's Kentucky Lake. It's listed as Kentucky, Tennessee. So I'm guessing Kentucky Lake.
Isn't that where Daniel got second place or something?
Oh, really?
No, that was on Grand Lake, I believe. Yeah, in Oklahoma.
They usually have something in
Carolina. I think they might be they're doing one in New York. So I think they might be doing Cayuga or the St. Lawrence River instead of the Susquehanna.
That's a drive.
I think they said, Steve Owens said that they're going to probably launch the schedule on December 10th. They're waiting for some finalized stuff, which is 5 days. And that they're waiting for new sponsors. So,
yeah.
Anyway, any other questions? I don't see any from the chat. So if you got any more questions, put them in there now.
Yep.
Of course, you can always ask on the Facebook page for the Kansas Kayak Anglers too. So,
actually, could we just go around real quick? Which lakes are you guys most excited about fishing this year? Tony, what do you think? What's your favorite lake on the schedule?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I didn't really do that great at Cedar Creek, Fort Scott, Bone Creek. I think I'm actually looking forward to the North 75 shootout because I can stay and sleep in my own bed. And I know Perry Lake's been really good to me this year. We'll see how it is next year.
Hopefully.
And I always love going to Wilson. So
yeah, that's what I say. Wilson's probably my favorite one on the list. So what about you guys down there, Austin?
Pony Creek is calling my name. I don't think I've ever been to Pony Creek, but I've seen a lot of pictures and photos of fish out of Pony. So
that's enough of that talk. That's enough of that talk from you.
You had to ask, Tim.
That's the only reason I've never been there is I think it's like a 2.5 hour drive for me to get to Pony.
It's basically in Nebraska. Yeah,
that's a haul.
Honestly, with that North 75 shootout, all 3 of the lakes have pretty nice sized bass in them. So
that's kind of the point of those shootouts, right? Is we try to match up lakes that are kind of similar to one another. So there's a good option, and it's going to really come down to Pony Creek might be horrible next year, or Banner Creek. We don't know yet. Like it's you have no idea until you go fish them and see how they maybe something happens.
I know each lake you can pull 90 inches out of, so at any point in time. So.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying anything can happen, right? Like I've gone to Lake Shawnee where they had the algae,
blue green.
Yeah, and it was just everywhere, right? And you just tell things are funky. Yeah. So things happen, but that's my preferred one. I think Wilson, I'm actually the most scared about. I usually am the most confident going to Wilson, but I've just never been there that late in the year. So that's going to be
after that Heartland tournament with 100 inches to win it 2 days. I'm a little nervous myself.
Yeah, Matt just pulled that out, right? So
yeah.
I'm scared about that one.
Matt knocked it out.
Well, I'm going to say I'm most excited for Milford because that was the one tournament I couldn't make it to this year. So I've never actually fished Milford. So
I'm sure Derek's pretty excited.
Not that I think it's the best lake or anything, but I'm just excited to fish somewhere new.
Yeah, go ahead.
That was the first year this year was the first year I fished Milford, and I didn't do great, but I missed a few that would have put me up a few spots, but it was fun. So, but
It's got a lot of big smallmouth.
Peyton has a question there. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah. What are the
Yeah,
pre-fish rules? Yeah.
Pre-fishing rules. So generally, the kind of only real rule of pre-fishing is at most of the tournaments is you have to be off the water by 7 p.m. on the Friday before. The one exception to that is the championship. You'll still have to be off the water by 7 p.m. the Friday before, but there will be a 2-week period of off limits on Wilson Lake, and we'll announce that as it gets a little closer. But yeah, there will be a 2-week off limit period for the championship.
And that'll probably open up the Monday before, I assume.
Yeah. Or I think what we did this year with Melbourne, because there was actually a KBN boat tournament, and we had some people that were wanting to fish that from the boat, so we opened it up. I believe it was the Saturday before, so that they could fish that tournament.
Very nice. And I don't know if he was talking also about like the road runners, like how that works, but you can go from lake to lake to lake to pre-fish. You don't have to stay at one lake for the road runner. I wonder if he was asking about that as well.
Yep.
So
you can definitely move lakes.
Yeah. Clayton, stay away from Pony. You don't need to go there. It's fine.
I was actually going to ask: is there a lake that any of you have not fished on this schedule? Because I haven't fished a lake, and I think Todd hasn't fished Milford. He said. What about you guys? Have you guys fished all of these?
I only fished Cedar Creek from the bank.
That's what. Yeah, we pulled up one day and fished it from the bank. I caught fish there from the bank, but yeah, it looks like a really good lake. But
so, I mean, it's kind of. I mean, I think it's a good mix. Then that good sign that we're fishing new lakes that that we haven't fished at all, and there's people in the comments who haven't fished. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. But the South Lakes, I don't know very well. I just
Yeah.
It looks like Outlaw Fishing has a question there.
Yep, I think we answered that. Yeah, you can definitely on the Roadrunner days you can switch lakes during the day if you want.
If you go to Lake Shawnee, it's horrible. Just tournament day, just go to the next lake. I mean,
yep. Hopefully they have the road construction on Highway 75 done and it's not one lane and backed up like it currently is every day. But
yeah, usually you're through there early enough you won't worry. You have to deal with that every
We're
day.
on the weekend sometimes, the right time, it's not so bad. But we're looking at if anybody actually has, with those 3 lakes being all together about an hour from Shawnee Lake to Pony Creek, we're kind of looking at maybe doing something in the north part of Topeka.
Yeah.
We can meet up afterwards. So if anybody has any locations that they can think of or businesses, I kind of thinking north, somewhere north of the construction.
Hunter's Ridge area, maybe.
Hunter's Ridge area, if you're familiar with all of Topeka, or if you know a business that would want to have a sit down, let us sit down, use a room, sponsor the award ceremony, let us know.
Then you're only 15 minutes from Shawnee Lake, and then everybody else is heading back that way. So,
yeah, just like that. Yeah, the North 75 Lake can be.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying the Southeast Roadrunner.
Yeah. They didn't have zebras last time I was there. That could very well change.
The thing with Banner, if I remember correctly, we'll post all the details, but I believe you had to pay an extra fee, right, to fish?
No. No, not for Banner. Banner's free if you fish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They do require a permit for a tournament, and then Pony Creek does as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll check. I may make that call to see if Banner does have zebra mussels. That's a very good question. So choose your stuff wisely.
I was going to have you pop that up at the end, Tony, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
To see if there's anybody else who'd get a list going of anybody who might want one.
Let me see if I can pop that up real quick. Share the screen. Give me 1 second.
While you're doing that, like you said about the new guys coming in, and they discussed earlier, I think in 1 year tournament fishing, you learn about 5 years worth of stuff. I fished for 33 years, I think, and then I got into tournament fishing, and it's doubled my knowledge already on stuff I thought I knew and I didn't. So there's the hat right there on the screen.
Yeah, for anybody who's kind of watching, we had a small batch of these made. We haven't received them in person yet. I got 6 of them ordered, and I think 4 of them are already spoken for. So I think there's going to be 2 more available. If anybody wants one, let me know. And if these all work out and everything, and everyone likes them and whatnot, we'll open it up and do another order. But as it is right now with the small batch we did, it was $30 a hat. So we're not looking to make any profit off of the hats or anything like that. Just, have a little something out there for the club. Like I think both of you have a Kansas Kayak Anglers shirt, and nobody else has a shirt. So we'll eventually do that as well. So,
yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm trying to look into some places where we can do some print on demand. So we don't have to buy the shirts, bring them to the club, bring them to a tournament, and then hand them out and things like that. So I'm looking into that as well. So hopefully we can find a place. So if anybody knows anybody that does print on demand that's local, I asked a few local businesses here around town. That would be a great thing to add. Maybe they can give us a discount. Something like that. So sponsor us.
I do have a friend that is an account manager at Reliant Apparel, so I can reach out to her and see what sort of options they have, and kind of sell them at cost or something.
Yeah, I actually did go over and speak with them, and there was some stuff they could do, but they don't really do much for print on demand for that low. But if we have enough people, so
gotcha.
I think it's kind of the typical thing that I was running into, well, especially in terms of cost. Like the hats, I was a little surprised actually was that cheap to do only 6 hats, $30 a hat. It seemed fairly cheap. But yeah, a lot of them are, charge you a lot more for a t-shirt unless you are printing a bunch of them. So
yeah, I heard that outlaw about the states actually checking your boat or your kayak before you even leave the lake to go to your next one. They actually check it and make sure.
They actually had a checkpoint at Cedar Bluff when we had our tournament this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we stopped and asked the people. They would wash off your boat and everything for you. So.
Okay, I remember that at the stop sign there. They were sitting on the right side.
They're the 2 that I think one was reading a book and another one was hanging out. So.
Daniel said you'll take a hat.
Looks like those hats are both spoken for.
Yep.
Oh shit!
And Eric and Daniel.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll get with you guys and let you know. I think we'll get the hats in the next probably couple weeks, I imagine. So
nice. So what about in the comments section? Do you guys looking forward to any of these lakes on the schedule? And which lakes are you looking forward to?
What lakes are you looking forward to? And then also just kind of any other suggestions or comments that you have for the monthly tournaments, Big Bass Bonanza, the shakeup that we're doing with that. And then, our in-person stuff.
Yeah.
I think this weekend I'll probably, start working since we're announcing it now. I'll start working on some of the updates to the website and whatnot. So, we can add your link back in there for PayPal so people can, pay their membership early if they want. Maybe, it's early, it's before Christmas. So maybe they needed an item to their wish list so they can tell their significant other, oh, I want a Kansas Kayak Anglers membership for 2021.
That's right.
So, I don't know.
Maybe we can post that on Amazon. Just get random people to sign
up. Yeah, there we go. So. Well, the other thing I will mention, and I don't think it's going to happen this year, obviously, because we're announcing the schedule right now. But there is conversation going on between us and the Oklahoma Kayak Anglers. I was talking to Michael, right? I believe.
Michael Gabreth, yes.
Yep, about that, and because there's some lakes for especially the eastern state guys and the southeast guys like Daniel down there that, some of those lakes in Oklahoma are a shorter drive than some of the lakes we have here in Kansas even. So we were talking about doing kind of a co-hosted tournament with them. So probably not this year, but might be something in the works for next year. So I don't think we've ever crossed Kansas state lines before as an organization. I don't believe any of the clubs in Kansas have. We always have Colorado that comes here. We have Nebraska that comes here, and then Missouri, I think, usually comes here for a tournament every year. So it'd be kind of interesting.
The All-American series did, but that series is no more.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they did Mineland, right, this year?
Yeah, they did Mineland this year, Wilson last year.
Oh, I will say, is anybody? Yeah, I'm surprised Mineland Wildlife Area didn't make the base. Yeah, we shook that up. We were changing that up.
Doug.
Based on how well I do. If only you knew. I got so lucky one time. I did get third this year, but that was also a last minute 18 3/4 inch fish or whatever. So
yeah, we're looking forward to fishing with you too this year, Peyton. So don't forget February 1st for that membership. So
I think I met Peyton one time at Sunflower event.
Yep.
In Lake. Was he in a Titan? Was he in a Titan? Is that what he had? Or
yeah, he has I believe so.
Okay, an orange Titan, if I remember.
I think it's green.
Yeah.
Put it in the comment.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Clayton. I think it's something that we need to work on. I think we need to. It's just difficult with two different clubs working on their schedules together. It's kind of something we need to do in advance a lot more, because we were kind of last minute getting together with Oklahoma kayak anglers. But I think next year we could probably work something out with either Missouri or Oklahoma, and at least go to one of those events, or maybe we add an extra tournament on there. And because I don't know how many people would be able to drive to Oklahoma or Missouri necessarily to fish, but
that's kind of one thing we talked about was potentially like trying to team up with Oklahoma and do like an early season, like a March tournament where it it doesn't count towards Angler of the Year. It's just go out and fish, and it's kind of a standalone thing. So we'll work with some other states to hopefully at least have one out of state tournament this next year. I'm on the board of Kansas Bass Nation, and the boat tournaments are more and more they're going out of state. And yeah, big part of that is, and obviously they have higher entry fees. They're mostly staying in hotels. They have towns on, down on Grand Lake, on, Stockton Lake, all these lakes in Missouri and Oklahoma, where these towns are like, hey, we'll give you $5,000 if you come have your tournament here. And so they're essentially, getting all their expenses covered by sponsorships once they leave Kansas. So, that's something we can potentially look at, is potentially having, some sponsorship to kind of cover some of the costs and maybe increase payouts, to encourage people to go down.
Yeah.
Yep. I think it's also just kind of nice to build those cross-state relationships too. With Michael, like I've never been down there and fished one of these events, but I've chatted with him, and he knows who I am. And I know who he is, and it's just good to build those relationships. And you meet a lot of new anglers, and you learn stuff fishing new lakes too. It's always interesting. The Missouri lakes, that's kind of one of my goals for 2025. Personal goal is go fish some Missouri lakes, because those are lakes I don't have a lot of confidence in. Those are usually typically like clear, deep lakes, and that's not my type of fishing. So there's a lot to learn there. So it's definitely interesting to mix it up for sure. Oklahoma is a lot closer than Cedar Bluff for me. That was actually, I think, one of the comments that I made about Cedar Bluff. I did really good at Cedar Bluff, third place or whatever, 90-something inches. I had a blast there, but man, that was a drive. And it was a long drive to be out in the middle of Kansas, or not in the middle of western Kansas, with 30, 40 mile an hour, breeze every day. That was rough. That was super rough. That was probably
sketchy conditions.
Yeah, that definitely.
Especially the day before the tournament. That was definitely had some moments where I was like, I'm gonna fall in.
Don't sell yourself short, Austin. You kind of tied for second, but that
So
big bass.
oh,
That one guy.
damn him. But I think that was our. So looking back to this year, if anybody has any comments, I'm kind of curious. What was your favorite lake, or what was the lake you hated the most from this year? I think I missed out on 2 tournaments or 3 this year, so I didn't get to fish all of them.
I mean, my favorite was one of the lakes we're not fishing this year. That's El Dorado.
Really?
Oh yeah. I
I
mean,
hate Eldorado.
I always do decent there. So
Yeah, I have left El Dorado early at El Dorado every single tournament because I hate El Dorado.
Well,
I'm very happy we're not fishing it.
last year I zeroed at El Dorado and I caught about 60 this year. So
Yeah.
El Dorado was one of my favorite lakes to fish also. It was fun.
I'm not gonna lie, Cedar Bluff was one of my favorites.
If it wouldn't have been as windy as it was, it would have been a blast.
Yep, phenomenal.
The first year doing tournaments, at 20 minutes into the tournament, I caught almost a 6-pounder. The first year doing it, and
the suspense, Tony, you're killing us.
am I cutting out?
He's gone forever.
Oh, I can hear him.
Okay.
no, we can't hear him.
All right. Anything else anybody wants to add for this upcoming season?
Yeah, just excited to get it going when the time gets here, and we'll be working behind the scenes the next few months to kind of get things all organized and ready to go. Working on permits and working with Kevin to get plaques and stuff going and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, we got to do a new plaque design, so we got to get with Kevin and figure that out and what he could do. And there's a lot to be done still. It's be here before you know it.
Speaking of plaques, I do have a Big Bass Bonanza trophy for Wes Kinsey whenever I meet up with him next. So there was a trophy made for that, and then I don't know. I know Kevin was working on a custom Angler of the Year plaque for Clayton. I'm not sure what this. Oh, okay, awesome.
Yep. The only thing I was going to add about our tournament schedule, I don't think we talked about. I don't think there's any plans to change the team tournaments. I think that was
it was great.
Surprise. That was we had a good number of participants in those this year versus previous years. So we're going to keep it at $10 per angler, and it'll be a random assignment of who you're fishing with. So the only thing I will say with that is I think Todd got a little upset that people were signing up a little late on some of those things. And so it makes shuffling, right? You have to have even numbers to make even teams. So make sure you sign up early for your team tournaments. If you're going to do tournaments, sign up early.
Yeah, I always try to post I always say the deadline to sign up for teams is that Thursday night. That way I can get the teams made Friday. Seems about 70% of people read that because I always tend to have a couple random people sign up on a Friday afternoon, and sometimes I have to send them their money back and say, sorry, we're already at an even number, or else I have to say, okay, I'm not going to fish the team tournament, or Austin will say he's not fishing the team tournament. So yeah, we'll kind of make sure and keep communicating that to, if you're going to do the teams, get signed up, prior to Friday.
Yep. And I understand. I'm usually sign up late myself. I want to make sure that I get to the lake if I need to, if we're staying there at the lake or whatever, and everything works out. So, yep. I just wanted to mention that because I don't think there is any plans. I was just looking at our website and looking at the things I need to update on there, but I think for the most part I won't have to update too much. So the other thing I do want to mention is, I see Daniel thanking myself and Todd, and I appreciate that. You guys, show us love, and we do it as a volunteer, just something we love to do ourselves. So, but I do want to thank actually Tim and Tony. They're taking over some of the ownership of KK this year and volunteering and taking over doing lake permits. I believe I think that's Tim, and shelter reservations, and Tony's helping with sponsorships. And
so if you don't like anything that happens, blame one of those two.
I'm a silent partner.
So it's if this was a single man operation to do all this stuff, that is just a lot of work for a volunteer effort. So the four of us, I think we're working well together and got it all pretty well divided up. So I definitely appreciate you guys coming on board and taking over some of the ownership there. So thank you for that.
Look forward to it.
That will also give us a couple more judges. So when we're out fishing, that it does sometimes. Sometimes I'm getting off the water early to try to get people's fish judged. Unless I happen to be doing good, then I'm going to stay on the water and fish. But it just kind of gives us a little more judging power, and not that I would ever give Austin anything to let him do better, but we'll have it where Tim or Tony are judging me and Austin, and me and Austin are judging theirs, just so there's no potential shenanigans going on.
Yep. Well, and then the other thing is just I wish we I think all four of us planned on fishing, so it'll be kind of another one of those things where we juggle who's judging. But I like to be able to get judging done earlier in the day for people, so that people know that they have their identifier correct or whatever, because if we're fishing and we have to look at to make sure we're judging your fish and make sure everything's right, you're kind of getting a delayed like hey, everything looks good on yours, you got the right identifier, you're doing all that right. So that's something I personally do, is I always submit my fish early in the tournament, or at least one fish early, to try and make sure like I have everything correct, right? So
yeah. I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. It's kind of a pain when you're trying to get off the water at the end of the day and you're still waiting for people to upload fish. And I get it, like you catch a 21-inch fish, like I'm not going to upload it either. But if you have 70 inches of fish, just upload them during the day. Like if you're moving spots, upload a couple, and it just makes it easier at the end of the day for us to kind of get the results tally, because we're also with allowing people to register all the way up until midnight on Friday, we're basically spending time at the end of the day trying to figure out payouts at the end of the tournament. And so, if we're having to still judge people's fish at 3:00 in the afternoon and, trying to get to where we're having the awards and get stuff set up, it just makes it hard to get all that done. So yeah, upload your fish, unless it's a huge one that's going to make you win, then, sandbag all you want. But
I understand the sandbagging, because I'm guilty of it too. And to me, it mostly just relates to being next to somebody, right? If I'm next to somebody and I'm doing well, I don't want them to know that this is the magical spot or something like that. So if you're doing well and maybe you're not around people or whatever, you're fishing a completely different lake during a road runner, submit some of those fish a little bit earlier so we can get them judged and move along. But I get it. So
this will be the first year for a 100-inch bag. Also, I'm calling it. Who's going to get it?
On the year we don't go to Cedar Bluff. That's interesting.
Perry Lake or Milford. That's my bet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we answered all the questions. Thank you guys for joining us tonight, Todd, Austin, and make sure, if you haven't already, you can look up all the updates on Facebook for all the schedules, rules, and membership, and we'll keep it updated once it gets closer to that February timeframe and updates the rules. Also check out the KK webpage at KansasKayakAnglers.com, and don't forget to support the sponsors. If you need stuff, buy stuff, get the discount code. Typically, I think it works. If you use a discount code, they can see we're using it. That helps us keep sponsors in the future, things like that. So if there's nothing else, everyone, thank you so much for joining On the Line tonight and partaking in our first live stream. And thanks for all the questions. We appreciate it. And everyone, have a great night.
Hit that like button.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Show some love. Yep.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Have a good night, guys.
Yep.